Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda show on Salam Media, and we are in the last segment of today's show. So, we are going to be talking about job loss and unemployment stress and how to deal with that. Whether you've been laid off, downsized, forced to take early retirement, or seen contract work dry up, losing your employment is one of life's most stressful experiences, and we have seen a lot of people losing their jobs during this pandemic globally, and it's not just something that is happening in South Africa. So I've got Nazia Saloojie, who is a counselor as well as life coach, to talk more about this topic. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Nazia.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah for having me again.
Shukran, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining me as well. Okay, so obviously, losing one's job is not an easy thing. It's not an easy feeling as well. So, what can one do to stay calm after losing a job?
It's not an easy time at the moment for everybody. Even people who do have jobs, the future is very uncertain at the moment. So it's very important to maintain a positive outlook, and that's what the theme of the day is. No matter what the circumstances, we need to maintain a positive outlook and exercise certain skills or life skills that's going to get us through this, because we do know it's not going to last forever. However, we still need those coping mechanisms that will enable us to come out of this emotionally, mentally unscathed.
Mm-hmm. And how does a job loss or unemployment affect a person's mental well-being?
So, firstly, it puts immense strain mentally on somebody. I mean, imagine having to be the sole provider in the house and being laid off from work. Financially, how are you going to provide for your family? Emotionally, it starts to affect you in the sense of, am I a failure? Is this my fault? How am I going to provide if I have children to see to, if I have a family to feed? So all of these things, it puts immense pressure on an individual. And the coping mechanisms, not everybody has the coping mechanisms or access
Mm-hmm.
to professionals to speak to them as well and say, I am going through this, and it is a challenging time. And one of the main things that people can do is reach out to organizations, like SADC, for example, where you just speak through this. And remember, number one is to be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to go through the process, because it's much like grieving. A job is
Mm-hmm.
equated to your life's purpose. If you can't do it, you will start going through the process of grief, which is loss. And you're going to go through the stages of grief, just like losing someone in your life, because this has been somebody who's perhaps been working every day from 8 to 5. They have their routines, and now that whole routine has been disrupted, and basically they start to blame themselves, which is not the case, especially in the current climate. People all around the world are going through the same anxiety, the same depression, and the same stresses. So we need to, step one, be kind to ourselves and allow ourselves to grieve. Um, you know, Especially so that we can balance things out. And if you don't go through it, the only way out of this is through it. So it just makes the difference. How do you go through it? What attitude do you adopt while you're going through it? And how are you able to maintain your positive outlook at the end of it?
Mm-hmm. And being the sole provider or the breadwinner of the family is it's not easy having to lose a job as the sole provider, but sometimes also family can add on to that stress. Stressing you of but not now in situations of the pandemic. Let's take, for example, a situation out of the pandemic when you are sole provider and you lose your job and your family is on your case about you having to lose the job, and this needs to be fixed and food needs to be bought in school, the fees need to be paid, etc. What can the person do in that instance?
I think it's very important, Miriam, that we have these conversations with our families on the onset of this, to say that situation has changed. I am not in the financial standing that I I once was, which means that we'll be taking certain, not even privileges, but we will be having to cut back on a lot of things that we're used to in order to budget to make it through this. But more importantly than that, I will require the support of the family and the understanding of all of us going forward. And as elders, we can guide children. This is a perfect time to teach them money management, time management, and the life skills of coping and being considerate, because we have the ability to stand together and support each other and not make it difficult for the person. Because remember, this leads to heightened anxiety, heightened depression, and some people in some cases even suicide. You can imagine people equate their job to their sense of self-worth. If they do not have their job which defines their sense of self-worth, it leads to dark thoughts and dark feelings. So psychologically, we have got to provide support for the breadwinners of the families to say that this is out of your control, and as a family we need to stand together and find alternative ways of dealing. And also, if it means we have to cut back and sacrifice, let us do that and not be selfish, because like I'm saying to you, depression and suicide, it's a real huge threat to the emotional well-being of individuals at this time.
And also with for the youth who have lost their jobs, their employment, and they have to go back home and be looked after their families, it's difficult. I know I've come across many stories of young people who used to work now having to go back home looking like a failure, feeling like a failure, because that's how their family is now perceiving them. And it's really unfair because it is out of their control. Losing your job is beyond your control. There could be many reasons why you have lost a job, and one of those reasons right now is the pandemic. So not having the support of your family it's very difficult.
Yes, and the psychoeducation needs to happen. I think that now is the time when mental wellness should supersede any kind of financial need that people might have. And, clearing our minds and focusing that not on what we don't have, which is our jobs, but what skills do we have in order for us to capitalize at the moment and get some sort of an income. It is a very depressing time. And personally, I know of a lot of people who've had to move back in with their families because they can't afford rent. They've cleared out their entire apartments, and it is a very difficult time. We need to maintain that positive outlook to say it's not going to last forever. And do not berate yourself based on the fact that you cannot be employed at the moment. It is completely beyond our control. Our economy is in a state at the moment. Do not focus on what you don't have. Focus on the skills that you do have, and then you'll find opportunities start to arise. If we had to lose our jobs, for instance, we need to look towards our talents. I don't have a job, but maybe I'm a good baker, or there's something home industry that I can turn to just to keep a little income stream coming in, whether it's making biscuits or just something, and you'll find that that might be your saving grace. It also might be a mercy, something that is, disguised as a crisis, is an opportunity for you to realize your talent can actually become your your sustenance at the end of the day. So I think don't focus on what you don't have. Let's start looking at what you do have. Take time to grieve that yes, this is your job, but it didn't define who you are. Minus that title, you still have all the abilities to carry out day-to-day functions and make a business success of yourself. So take your skills that you use to apply in your job and apply it to a home industry kind of business that you can run, and reach out to friends, professionals, and family and say, what, this is what I'm doing. If you in your network can please forward my information to others, I promise you will definitely get positive returns. Positive mindset will give you positive returns, and positive opportunities will definitely come your way.
As I was reading a little bit more about this topic, I came across something where they say that you should clean up your social media. Why should you clean up your social media after having lost a job?
Okay, our social media is full of, firstly, fake news, and obviously the amount of negative media that is going around now. They understand that it's a whole new addiction to the news about the negativity going around, going on around the world. Clear up your social media so that you streamline positive affirmations, positive articles, motivational speaking kind of videos, stuff that will actually enhance your positive mindset as opposed to feeding the negative mindset. It's very important that whatever you focus on, it expands. So if you're going to focus on the negative emotion is going to get stronger. If you focus on the positive emotion, or you redirect your energy in a positive direction, that is going to grow. Likewise with your social media, remove negative reporting. Don't look at it. Don't watch the news too often. Don't watch it the first thing in the morning, because the news tends to report a lot of negativity, or sensationalize only the negativity. How about you skip it? Once a day in the middle of the day is cool for you to check up on what's happening around the world. But streamline your social media so that you are only reading the positive stuff, only getting the positive kind of affirmations going. And remember what we're saying, that whatever you focus on will expand. If you focus on negativity, it will expand and you will find more reasons to be negative. But if you focus on positivity, I promise you, opportunities will come your way that will reinforce your positive thinking. Your mind is an absolutely powerful tool that you can use to change your life, and it's something that people need to learn to utilize correctly. And also, don't spread positive news. We're getting a lot of messages about this is how many things are happening. Some of it are hoaxes, and people don't think. They just forward it to family groups and forward it to community news groups and not verify that this is actually coming from a trustable source. So instead of that, don't forward it. Forward something positive, like giving support to people in your position and saying, what, I know it's hard right now, but we're going to make it, and that will bring you much more positive returns. We need to experience a full mind shift change in order to navigate through this, and there is no one that can tell you for sure when this is going to end or how we're going to end up. All that we know is that we are having to rely on our internal abilities to survive. And human beings have the basic instinct of survival. So, under these circumstances, you will survive because you have been given the tools. You just need to realize what your strengths are and play them up.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about laughter? We hear that laughter is the best medicine, and sometimes people use laughter as a coping mechanism, but you also get people who use it as a form to not deal with their grief.
Definitely. People have different defense mechanisms in hard times. Some might cry through it and not eat and withdraw. Some people become extremely, extroverted in that they want to be a source of happiness and lose themselves in the problem. Maybe I lose myself in conversation with people, or maybe I use jokes as and I'm the clown keeping everybody laughing just to mask. It's just a mask. Always ask the loudest person in the room, are you okay? Is there anything that you need? How can we help you? And always extend a helping hand. I think we've seen a rise in suicides. We had many comedians who committed suicide as well. Robbie Williams, where people said, but he was fine. He was always making people laugh. He was happy all the time. But actually, it taught us a lesson that always ask the loudest person in the room, are you okay? Because that could be one big defense mechanism to mask and escape the pain of their own life or the reality of their own life. Now is the time where we need to give consideration to every person's mental and emotional state of being, because we are all literally in this together.
Indeed, we are all in it together. And quickly, what are some other coping mechanisms that we can utilize in such situations?
Okay, so like we said, be kind to yourself. Make sure that you don't stop eating, and you exercise. And remember, exercising is very important. So practical steps is being kind to yourself, making yourself a cup of tea, sitting down, scheduling your day, and establishing a routine for yourself. Don't drive yourself crazy looking for a job. Allocate some time in a day when you're sending out your CVs, when you're checking your emails, that kind of thing. Connect with family, friends, and professionals so that you are able to say, listen, I am looking for a job. Please be on the lookout for me, and keep in contact with them. You never know what can come up from that. And obviously, clearing your mind and staying positive. Remember, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when this is going to get better. It's not if, it's definitely going to get better. Just streamline your mind, discipline your thoughts, control what it is that you allow to affect you, and I promise you, you will navigate safely through this.
Mhm. You are the control. You have the remote, and you can decide what you want to see a change in your life. And if you want it to be happy, then it will be happy, because it all starts with you. And you can't um, expect somebody else to make you happy, because I mean, they don't know how to make you happy. They can be a catalyst in how to help you get there, but it all starts with you. Shukran so much for your time once again, Nazia.
Afwan, Jazakallah so much for having me, and have an amazing week ahead.
Shukran yourself as well. That was Nazia Saloojie, a life coach and counselor, just giving us tips on how to cope with the stress of losing a job or being unemployed. Focus on your strengths, focus on your skills, focus on things that you can do. And if you don't have any talents, perhaps you can try learning a new one. YouTube is there, and there are so many things that you can do. In fact, I just saw a video on how to make a headboard using cardboard boxes, and this lady did an amazing job using cereal boxes that she cut up in and made into pyramids, and she stuck them together on the board and spray painted them silver. It looks amazing. So there are endless things that you can do. It just starts with you. It starts right here. Change your mind, change the way you think, change the way you look at things. And also, like Sister Mahleen Mia Kasanji mentioned in the empowered segment, it's you need to be aware of yourself and be aware of things that you do. And if you are aware, you'll be able to change your mind. You'll be able to change the way that people look at you, the way you look at yourself. And also, you won't have to be worrying about stressing about not having a job, not having employment, not having this and that. You'll be focusing on other things. All right, so if you have any comments or questions, you may leave them in the comment section, or you can send them to our WhatsApp. The number is 0617660355. We will be right back after the break.